The hosts and guests on Everything's Messy podcast are not licensed healthcare professionals. The discussions in our episodes are not personalized medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for medical guidance. Never delay seeking professional medical advice or emergency assistance because of our podcast. We encourage consulting with a healthcare professional before making any significant health changes. By listening to our podcast, you agree to the disclaimer. Thank you for listening to Everything's Messy. Hey, welcome to Everything's Messy podcast, where we celebrate the beautiful but messy life experiences that most, if not all, people go through. Get ready to embark on an exciting journey through the raw and unfiltered stories of everyday people. Here, we dive into messy realities of life, from making messy mistakes to triumphs and everything in between. Are you sensing a theme? That's right, it's messy. But this just isn't about the mess. It's about finding strength and resilience in the midst of it all. We'll explore how health, fitness, and wellness play a crucial role in navigating life's twists and very messy turns. And we'll challenge conventional systems, because sometimes the most unconventional paths lead to the greatest discoveries. Join us as we embrace the messy, beautiful, and endlessly fascinating stories. Each episode is a testament to the power of our messy journeys and the beauty that emerges from the mess. So grab your favorite beverage, coffee, sparkling water, whatever it may be, and prepare to be inspired. Are you ready? Let's get messy. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Everything's Messy podcast. I am your messy host, Sarah. So, a couple things. Super excited about my event that's coming up in September. It's going to be all about burnout. It's going to have, intentional small movements that we can help release some of this stuff that we've got going on in our body. I'm going to explain my 3M system. We've got vitamin lollipops, which I'm excited to try by Molly Pop. We've got some mocktails that we're going to be serving. It's going to be cozy in our pajamas and, soft lighting, and we're going to have eye masks and just all the fun stuff. And there's going to be lots of surprises along the way. If you are in Southern California and you want to participate, it'll be in Irvine, and you can get tickets through my link on my website, or you can get it on my Instagram under the link tree. And I just think it's going to be an amazing event. I'm partnering with Jessica Carlson, who is a master yoga teacher, and she's just going to be leading us in this wonderful, soft, subtle movement things. And I just think it's going to be a great way for women to come together who are burnout, who are dealing with chronic illness, and we don't get a break, who maybe you're a caretaker. Maybe you're taking care of an elderly parent. Maybe you are in the throes of young children and motherhood, and maybe you're just tired and you need a reset. This is for you. We welcome you all. We hope that you will find community. We are sharing our own stories of burnout and the things that we have dealt with. And one of the things that I think it's important to point out is I think when you can find that connection, that you relate, that you're going through something or that you've been through something and you can offer your pearls of wisdom, this is the community that we're trying to build. And we're just so excited to kick it off with this burnout series. It's called Healing Within Permission to Pause, right? Because we need some time to just pause and just sit in our own. It's common. I hear all the time people talk about, the airplane scenario. The oxygen bag drops. You have to give it to yourself first before you can give it to your children or the person sitting next to you, which means we should be filling ourselves up. We can't pour from an empty cup. So this is going to help. We're going to give you tips and tools that you can take with you, things that you'll be able to do at home. It's just going to be very, very exciting. So that's coming up September 12th in Irvine at the beautiful Mental headquarters. And so please, like I said, if you are interested in a ticket, go to the website or go to Linktree on my Instagram. Okay, so here is summer. And one of the things that I saw this hack on Instagram, it was really cool. I tried it. Amazing. We're worried about staying hydrated in the summer, and what are the best ways that we, don't lose a lot of our electrolytes and things like that. So this wonderful lady, she showed a quick little video. It was basically you're going to pour coconut water into your ice cube tray, make coconut water ice cubes, throw that into your water. And even if you're drinking sparkling water, it slowly releases the electrolytes we need. And I thought, oh, that's a great hack. I have to share that. So I'm sharing that with you now today. Something very fun. Okay. So now that all of the housekeeping stuff is out of the way, as I like to say, we're going to get into um, something. It is parallel to insulin resistance, but this is leptin resistance, and there are a lot of similarities. But I'm going to try and break it down as to what is different, why it's important, and maybe why you're not getting any movement and weight loss and you're doing all the right things. Maybe you're trying, you've tried everything and nothing is working. This might be the key. And so I'm going to break down this. So again, it is parallel. And I want to make sure, you know me, I'm always got my notes. I am the data nerd that has everything that we could possibly talk about. So again, insulin resistance does overshadow leptin resistance, but it is a big driver, especially behind the weight gain, constant hunger, inflammation, and metabolic dysfunction, which we talk about that. Um, and it's not so much that your body is broken necessarily. It's basically in regards to leptin resistance, your body stops hearing its own signals. And this is something that I've had to come to terms with. It's not lacking willpower. It's not your fault. There's things that are going on inside of you that, you're doing all the right things, but there's still some metabolic things that are just, they're confused. The signals are getting crossed and it's hard to figure out exactly what it is. And I'm going to help you see if this might be, something that is affecting you. So they call it the hormone that satiates you, right? It's supposed to let you know when you're full. It's produced primarily by your fat cells, and it is definitely, it basically needs to say, we have enough stored energy, stop eating, right? And it's like our fuel gauge, right? Think of it as like in the car, it's our fuel gauge. So the way it should properly work, let's start there. The way it should properly work, you eat, fat cells release the leptin. Leptin travels to the brain, specifically to the hypothalamus. Your brain says you're full, stop eating, burn calories normally, and maintain metabolism. Okay, that's how it should work. But with leptin resistance, and let me be clear, it's not that we don't have enough of this hormone. We actually have too much of it, but our brain it's not computing. The signals are jammed, it's crossed, it's not telling the brain, okay, enough. And this could be why we're hungry even after we eat. And I have experienced this before. So, and again, there's a lot. So let me get through them. So symptoms of the leptin resistance. So constant hunger, never feeling satisfied, frequent cravings, weight gain, difficulty losing weight, belly fat, low energy, fatigue, brain fog, increased inflammation, high triglycerides, elevated blood sugar, and poor sleep. So again, here's the list. It always seems to kind of be a Venn diagram, and it always seems to check all these other things that we're dealing with. And here's one more thing we can add in that corner, right? So why does the leptin resistance happen? Chronic overeating, again, because your brain is saying, I'm still hungry. The fat cells have not, told, or the brain doesn't hear what the fat cells are trying to say. And so nobody's in communication. It's all chaos in there, right? So if you are especially eating processed foods, sugary foods, ultra processed carbohydrates, this is going to turn off, right? The wonderful thing about epigenetics is we can turn those cells back on. This is one of the things that we're going to get into. And I want you to hear, yes, they might be off right now, but we can turn them back on. Another thing that would contribute to leptin resistance is chronic inflammation, right? What am I always saying? We're always seems to be chronically inflamed. And the inflammation really interferes with the leptin signaling inside the brain. And this can come from obesity, autoimmune disease, poor diet, chronic stress, poor gut health, high insulin levels, insulin resistance, and leptin resistance. They often occur together, like I said. The more insulin remains elevated, the harder leptin has to work. Again, poor sleep. Broken record. Get your sleep prioritized, get it in order. And then the result of all of these things, Especially, let's talk about the poor sleep one for a moment. So if you are not sleeping great, if it's poor sleep, it is disrupting the leptin, but then it's also disrupting the ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone. So that's GHRELIN for those that you want to go look up. That is the hunger hormone. And so if your leptin is turned off and it's not signaling, your hunger hormone is turned on and it's screaming at you. Now we have increased hunger and more cravings, all because we didn't get a good night's sleep. This is why prioritizing your sleep is so important, because it's checking so many boxes. Okay. And then, of course, chronic stress. High cortisol can interfere with healthy leptin signaling. Yeah, no shit. We are all dealing with this, right? Well, I say all. I'm speaking specifically to the chronic illness girlies out there like myself, where it's one tick after another, and we're just checking all those boxes, right? So here's what I find interesting. Sometimes dieting makes it worse, right? So if you're very low calorie, you're trying to lower the leptin, your brain thinks we're starving. And then the body responds by slowing the metabolism, increasing hunger, conserving fat, and increasing cravings. So you're thinking, okay, I just need to, we always hear calories in, calories out, right? If you consume less, you'll be less. And that's just not the correct way, especially as we learn about our chemistry and how the body is working, especially when we're talking about chronic illness. So that is not the I will say that's not the correct way for a lot of us. A lot of us, it does more damage, and in this case, that is what it's saying. So, and it's a big reason, big reason why. Let's say you did do the diet and you were successful, but then you stop or you fell off or whatever. It's why you gain the weight back so quickly, and obviously sometimes more. So leptin versus the ghrelin, right? Leptin says I'm full. Ghrelin says I'm hungry. Healthy metabolism depends on these hormones staying balanced. Oh, I just think as a woman, I'm so tired of hearing this theme of balancing your hormones, but it obviously relates to absolutely everything. And quick side note, I think it's very interesting. They're starting to talk a lot about, and I mentioned this, we did an episode on this a while ago or a couple ago, but the way that the medical community sees women, they almost see us as a smaller shaped man, minus our reproductive organs. Okay. And what we're finding is that's just not true. Even specifically when I'm talking about heart disease and what I've experienced, uh, um, men explode, women implode in relation to heart disease. And what that means is men are going to have a big event, and it's going to be outright. Sometimes it's the widowmaker, sometimes, those kinds of things. For women, though, it's slower, it creeps, and it gets into the microvessels and that's where the disease is living. And so we're dealing with a ton more of variables than just simply saying we're a smaller man, as in relates to we have the same heart, the same liver, we don't. And the autoimmune affects 80% of women, 80%. So we need to realize we are completely different with biology, with the way it is. And it's not, what makes us different is not just the reproductive organs. We are different on a whole other, cellular level. And that's why each cell needs to be treated individually and what it's doing inside our body. Again, when you hear that 80% of women have a chronic illness, that's just, we are doing something, or we're not doing something, or we're not being recognized in the medical community in some way. And we're not just the same, just a smaller size man. We're not, everything's different. The heart, liver, kidneys, the way our body processes stress, the way our body processes cortisol, it's just not reproductive. It just isn't. So, okay. So back to so why more body fat doesn't necessarily mean that you're more satisfied, right? People with obesity often have very high leptin, not low leptin. So the brain has become resistant to hearing it. That's what I was trying to say. It's similar to insulin resistance because it's a lot of hormone that you're having a poor response to. Now, with insulin resistance, it's not enough insulin and you're having to take more for your body to register that you're taking insulin. This is sort of the opposite of that, but they're still parallel in what they're doing, still a hormone, still affecting it. So, $64 million question, can leptin resistance improve? Yes, absolutely. What are we talking about? We need to prioritize protein. And again, this seems to be along all the lists, right? Again, we have this Venn diagram and we're just overlapping all of these things. Okay. But yes, protein increases the fullness. So we need to be, and you know, you can get very technical with your protein intake. I am not as technical as maybe I should be, but we should aim to be eating about 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per the body weight you want to weigh, not what you currently weigh, right? So we'll just do easy math. If you are wanting to weigh 150 pounds, then you should be intaking 150 grams, more or less, maybe 140 to 150 grams of protein a day. Everybody says, oh my God, that's so hard. Yes, it is. And if you're like me and you can't process a high amount of protein in one sitting, then you have to get it throughout the day. We should be prioritizing about 25 to 30 grams a meal with a snack or something in between to make up for it. So let's just, again, do easy math. If you were to do 30 grams per meal, eating 3 times a day, that gets you to 90. And then if you're going to maybe do 2 shakes with maybe yogurt and berries for dessert, that should get you close to your 140, maybe 150, depending on what you're eating. A lot of us, not even knowing, we do have more protein at dinner time. Again, for women, they're always saying that you cut off eating after 7 o'clock at night. For those of us who have blood sugar issues, sometimes that doesn't work. Can't tell you how many times that I've gotten ready for bed, brushed my teeth, gone to lay down, and oh, my insulin alarm is going off. And now I'm at 45 and I have to go eat something and I'm not hungry or even drink something, juice, but I've already brushed my teeth. Like, come on, man. But I digress. Hey, messy warriors. So if you're looking for some help, some guidance, how can I get back on track? Maybe you're newly diagnosed T1D or are a parent of a newly diagnosed child of T1D. Check out my website. There's lots of stuff that I'm offering, lots of support. Look, the T1D world is so much to unpack. It's going to take a long time to get in and settled. So if you need some help, reach out. Let me know, and I'm happy to start you on your journey, or maybe you need some guidance on how to make a better plan. Whatever it is you're looking for, check out everythingsmessywellness.com. And as always, keep it messy. But again, back to leptin resistance. This is something that, again, we can turn this gene on. We can get our hormones talking again to our brain, specifically the hypothalamus. But what do we need to do? We need to reduce the ultra processed food. We need to reduce the high carb sugar amounts. We need to reduce the convenience foods and things like that. We need to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And if that means you have to go to bed earlier, then that's what that means. I'm not saying you can do that all the time, but consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means 80% of the time we're doing the right thing. And it needs to be a consistent bedtime. Right? 7 to 9 hours consistently in bed at the same time, getting that, prioritizing that sleep, right? We need the intake of the protein. But again, if you're like me and you can't process that much at one time, pair it with low glycemic vegetables. Pair it with things that maybe even if you have a little bit of rice or a little bit of potatoes, it's going to be a small amount, but we need those carbs to kind of offset what we're doing. Yes, I am a big proponent of what carnivore did for me, but as you notice, as I did it and I came back to just a whole food-based thing, because my body was in such shock, it needed that carnivore to heal, but now I'm adding back these things. I'm adding back, the fruits, the honey, some of the low glycemic vegetables. A lot of it is zucchini, squash, butternut squash. I think I've said this as my favorite. A little bit of potato, Sometimes maybe a little bit of rice, not overdoing it. And that's, again, I'm dealing also with I don't want a 300 blood sugar. And rice and pasta will do that to me instantly. Even if I take my bolus insulin, it seems like it's gonna not only shoot high, it's gonna shoot high, and then I'm chasing it all night. So I just tend to typically stay away from that. So we're focusing on the protein, the low glycemic vegetables, the good fruit, the low fruit, blueberries, any berry really. Um, and then so for exercise, resistance training, walking, regular movement. And we know that exercise overall improves our metabolic health, and that's going to help turn on that gene that we were talking about. So other things, if we're looking at reducing the inflammation, we talk about, improving your gut. If we can manage the autoimmune conditions that we're dealing with, sometimes we can't. Making sure we're putting our stress, ways to combat it, putting those into motion, being consistent with that, and then eating anti-inflammatory foods if you can, for sure. That should help with your blood sugar, which often improves leptin signaling. Okay, so unlike insulin, there is currently no approved medication specifically designed to reverse leptin resistance in the general population. Improving leptin sensitivity typically focuses on improving overall metabolic health rather than simply increasing leptin levels. So, interesting facts, as I love to say, leptin was not actually discovered until 1994. Now I'm completely dating myself, and that's okay. That doesn't seem that long ago to me. I think I was a freshman or sophomore in high school. It doesn't seem that long ago to me, although I guess in the grand scheme of things it is. But this is fairly new that we're learning about, that we're trying to get research out there. And I think that's, definitely worth mentioning. Let's see what else. Sleep deprivation lowers leptin while increasing ghrelin. So again, I've already said your leptin is going to be turned off. The hunger hormone's going to go up. And this is why we're starving, or we think we're starving. Chronic inflammation appears to be one of the biggest contributors to leptin resistance. Weight loss itself lowers leptin, which is why maintaining weight loss can feel more difficult than losing it initially. So this is, again, it's all connected. And I think every time I learn something new and it brings me back to it's all connected, it just surprises me again how it's all connected, how we're all, well, especially again, the chronic illness girlies out there, we are, we're on a whole different level. And I think, I do kind of bash on conventional medical doctors a little bit, just in a way that they can't help us. They don't know. Their training is not in this. And yet we are supposed to be walking encyclopedias of our health and what we're supposed to do. But if we're not, we're dealing with all of these surprise things that are happening. I mean, it's just so much. But I do still believe firmly that education does give us power and what we should and shouldn't be doing. Now, what you choose to do with that information obviously is up to you. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I want to know. And then if I'm going against it, at least I can point to myself and go, you. And for those of you listening, I'm trying to do the Sophia Cunningham finger pointing at myself. But then I know it's me, that I'm doing it, right? So I don't want you walking away from this, thinking your body is broken. Your body isn't broken. I want you walking away understanding that your body's trying to protect you, but it doesn't know how. You're not giving it the right tools, right? If your brain isn't hearing the signal, which that's a big deal, that you're full, then you'll keep feeling hungry, not because you're weak or lack of discipline. That's, if that's really what we were just dealing with, I feel like it would be so easy to go, okay, I know when I don't have or when I don't give into the craving, if that's all it is just a craving, when I don't give into it, I'm better and I'm losing weight and great. But that's not what's happening. Not only am I, not giving into the craving, but then I'm sitting here struggling with my body who's just trying to, give me some signal, but it's inevitably the wrong signal because the brain isn't listening to what the hormones are trying to tell us. I mean, it's just a vicious cycle. It really is. I have been on this road for so long trying to fix all this communication. And you'd think, you'd think I'd be like, okay, I fixed it. I'm all done. Here's what you do. But it isn't. Most of my days are spent throwing Jello at the wall, seeing what sticks. And sometimes something works and sometimes it absolutely doesn't. And it's frustrating. And I talk about burnout because I do get burnout. I get tired of throwing that Jello. I get tired of just, why is nothing working? And it's still, what I'm still learning is that the communication is still messed up. That my body is still going, not yet. You're supposed to learn some lesson here, even if that's about Lipton. You're supposed to learn it. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And again, so many things that we talk about, uh, healing starts by understanding the mess before we try to fix it. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to understand the mess, sit in my mess before I can actively fix it. And kind of parallel though, as I learn each little step, I do try to implement these things and fix it at the same time. But it's so in depth. It's so much. And again, I refuse to, let this get me. I will figure it out. It's just taking some damn time. Okay, and one of the nuances I think kind of worth mentioning, um, there is obviously, and they're actually researching that. It's a big area of research. There is strong evidence linking it to obesity and metabolic disease, and scientists are still working to fully understand exactly why it develops and which interventions are most effective. Presenting it in this way, hopefully kind of, again, look at that Venn diagram, look at what you're dealing with, are we doing, what can we add, and those types of things. And I think, I had a lot of feedback on the liver episode and a lot of people talking about the supplements that they were taking. We talked about TUDCA, TUDCA. We talked about, maybe you're doing milk thistle, but you shouldn't be doing it for long periods of time as it is estrogenic if you're dealing with estrogen dominance and those types of things. But it just like this, I think it's worth mentioning, what we do want to try and fix it with whole foods, but maybe there is a supplement out there that can help out a little bit. And there is, but before I mention it, I want to say we need to be very careful that we're staying away from things that say stuff like Leptin booster, or, we want to be very intentional with the supplements that we're taking and just not a bunch of expensive urine that's just going to go out of us and it's not doing anything. It's actually jamming the signals even more. So, and unlike insulin resistance, right, because there is no real supplement, that has to be very metabolic, very intentional. There is a few things out there that I thought they were worth mentioning. So the first, the omega-3 fatty acids, EPA or DHA, because this helps reduce inflammation. It does improve the hypothalamic signaling. So that's putting that signaling back into play. And it can improve insulin sensitivity, which again, they're kind of parallel. And a big one, support heart health, right? If you're looking for it in just food, that's any salmon, sardines, mackerel, that kind of thing. You should be aiming for 1 to 3 grams daily, but again, not a doctor, so make sure you're discussing it with your healthcare provider. Um, let's see. Okay, the next one, I talk about this one a lot, magnesium. We we I think I talk about magnesium too much, but it's always fun to go back to the roots and talk about it. Let me just okay. So magnesium glycinate, which I take, and mylate, improves sleep, lowers stress, supports cortisol balance, relaxation, and blood sugar support. It may be a big help for leptin resistance. Because it is well absorbed and less likely to cause digestive upset, which is why I like to take it. And it improves your sleep, and it can try and normalize appetite hormones, including leptin and ghrelin. So that's a really big one. And again, I take a combination. It's mylate and glycinate together, and it's really, I've talked about a lot. Again, the mylate is for energy production, muscle fatigue, chronic pain, fibromyalgia, and daytime use. The malic acid is involved in making cellular energy, which is the ATP. If we have chronic fatigue or autoimmune disease, as many of us do, this can be a good daytime option. I take it at night because, like I said, it's a combination, but it doesn't necessarily directly target the leptin, but it does overall improve metabolic function. So, and then magnesium taurate is best for heart health, blood pressure, insulin sensitivity, and blood sugar support. I do take that. Taurine has been studied for improving insulin sensitivity and reducing inflammation. Since insulin resistance and leptin resistance often occur together, magnesium taurate is a compelling option specifically for people with metabolic syndrome or cardiovascular risk. Tick, tick, tick. Then there is L-threonate magnesium, which is brain health, memory, cognitive function, and brain fog. This can cross the blood-brain barrier more effectively than any other form. Since leptin signaling occurs in the hypothalamus part of the brain, researchers are interested in whether supporting brain health could indirectly help. Again, it's a supplement. It's not FDA approved. There's not a lot of research out there. I encourage you to do your own research. I am not a doctor. And then the one that I constantly warn you about, my magnesium citrate, which seems to be put into every vitamin, they just add this magnesium citrate. And I am telling you, unless you are having a problem with constipation, you do not want this. So heed my warning. You do not want this. Magnesium chloride is correcting magnesium deficiency, good absorption, and you can get it in some topical products, but I think it's just it for me, because there's 7 different types of magnesium. That's not, I mean, it's higher than the citrate. I will say that, but I think the others you'll get a better, you know, a better result from that. That's what I have to say about that. And then here's a few others that I find interesting. Again, because it's hard to eat that salmon, mackerel, things like that. So we want to get it in other areas. Definitely vitamin D. And again, I always say specifically the vitamin D3 dash K2 through 7, because that helps take it from out of the bone and out of the artery and into the bone. That's what we need. That's where it's really, really good to have. And it does claim to help improve leptin function. So let's see. Then we have zinc. Zinc plays a role in hormone signaling, immune function, and insulin activity. It does suggest that it may influence leptin concentrations. So that's good. Then we have berberine. Berberine improves insulin sensitivity, lowers blood sugar, reduces inflammation, supports weight loss in some people. And because insulin resistance and leptin resistance frequently occur together, improving insulin sensitivity may also improve leptin signaling indirectly. So that's really good. Then turmeric lowers inflammation, reduces oxidative stress, and improves metabolic health. Again, this is one I'd be careful with. It can be estrogenic. Green tea extract, it improves fat metabolism, reduces inflammation, and modestly can support weight loss. It depends, again, if all those epigenetic genes are turned on, you'll probably have better results. And then, your gut microbiome, I did a whole thing on this one. We want to make sure we're getting in there and taking care of the inflammation, insulin sensitivities, appetite hormones, and the brain signaling. So this is interesting. I kind of am on the fence about this. I'm not saying we don't need it, but I'm not sure how to prioritize it. A lot of people say fiber, but not in a supplemental form. So the soluble fiber can improve insulin sensitivity, feed beneficial gut bacteria, help you feel fuller longer, and reduce inflammation. But the foods that we have to eat for that fiber, that's where I'm on the fence, right? I'm not a grain or oat person, and I know there's a lot of flack that comes with that. That's just my personal choice. Um, it, I just don't think it's a benefit that people claim it to be. That's just my personal opinion. But there's other things that you can do, beans and of course apples and things like that. But again, we need to get that gut balanced back to where it needs to be, and then make sure we're adding in the good food that will help with that. All right. So yeah, again, going back to the supplements, you want to stay away from things that say leptin reset, leptin burners, leptin activators, leptin detox, none of that stuff. In my opinion, again, talk to your own doctor, but in my opinion, none of that is going to work other than the things that I mentioned, magnesium, vitamin D, those kinds of things. So after saying all of that, what do we learn? We learn that lifestyle still wins. Okay, sleep, resistance training, protein intake, reducing the ultra processed foods, managing insulin resistance, reducing chronic inflammation, stress management, and supplements, again, as supportive tools, not magic bullets and not meant to be on for a long period of time. Uh, again, it's just one more thing to add to what I feel that, chronic illness people are suffering with, dealing with. There's no magic map to map out what we need to do, and everyone's chronic illness is just a little bit different than another person, or if you're dealing with several like I am, your body is trying to tell you something in a very indirect way because it's turning off all these things and we want to turn them back on. And the more that we can get the lifestyle part right, the more that we can get the movement part right, the more that we can get the gut part right, all of these things eventually, again, this is a lifelong marathon we are running. It's not going to be a quick sprint to the end. It just isn't. I know I learn something every single day about what's going on inside the body and how complex that it is. And it's fascinating. Truly, truly, it's fascinating. And when we can accept that there is no one quick fix, that there is no one hit wonder, that everybody is different, that everybody responds differently to something, even inside the same chronic condition that you might be suffering. What my Hashimoto's is, it may not be what you're dealing with. And you could be taking selenium and all these things and it's working great for you. And I've hit a wall where selenium isn't doing anything for me anymore. It just depends on our cells, who's communicating, what's working in there. And I think not only is that beautiful, but also very frustrating. But we got to keep going. We got to keep learning. We got to keep digging in and finding the education, not in an overwhelming sense. Again, in the beginning, I was very obsessed with everything that I was learning from. Now I try and balance it and put it into perspective. Doesn't mean that I quit on myself or that I'm not trying. I just try and do it in smaller doses because I was getting burned out so much and having to keep up. I mean, I literally felt like I'm just barely keeping my head above water because there's just too much. So I keep it in perspective. I handle one thing at a time, one thing that I know I'm getting good at, keeping the consistency up, keeping the movement up, keeping where I can, support my stress and support my sleep. And again, we have to be doing it 80% of the time, keep it consistent. And the 20% of time when it's birthday parties and celebrations and life happening, that's okay too. And that's really important that we keep that part in perspective and we keep it livable, manageable, maintainable. I don't want to be, you know, and I know on this podcast, I totally sound like I am, and a little bit of I am, but I don't want to be the only nerd always thinking about this, always having conversations just based on this. There's other life out there too. It's all about finding, the balance of it, still living life, still enjoying life. I'm not going to be perfect. I don't strive to be perfect, but I keep every day as consistent as I possibly can for room to celebrate. Big shout out to my middle, who's turning 16. We're not talking about it. But I wish her a very happy birthday and time to celebrate for sure. And I thank you so much for listening to Everything's Messy. And as always, keep it messy. Thanks for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. Whew, if you made it this far, give yourself a gold star or at least a nap. Honestly, if you showed up today and you were listening, you've already crushed it. I'm so grateful for you listening. If anything hit home, share it, tag me, write it on a sticky note. I don't care. Just don't keep all of this messy goodness to yourself. You can find me on Instagram at Everything's Messy Wellness or over at my website, everythingsmessywellness.com, where I've got resources, coaching, and probably a new rant about blood sugar or something that's just nonsense. It's all waiting for you. Check out my YouTube channel. I've got all of my podcast episodes up there. And I'm on X at Everything's Mess. Or if you just want to send me an email, Sarah at everythingsmessywellness.com. Look, until next time, hydrate, take no crap, and as always, keep it messy.